Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to alt.bae. Today we're going to be talking about Celsius and not the temperature. Please go ahead and give us a like, follow, and subscribe wherever you are watching or listening to this. And feel free to comment and leave us feedback. But yeah, let's get into it. The temperature has dropped significantly in the crypto market, all due to Celsius. It's going to, well, not zero, but it's like definitely really cold. I am very appropriately wearing my McDonald's sweatshirt because that's where a lot of people in the crypto community are going to be filling out job applications too, because their portfolios are liquidated.
That is like the
It's
running
a little
joke
funny,
in
but it's not
crypto.
that funny.
It's not, because it's gonna
I'm literally doing the meme and I love it. It's so funny. I finally have the opportunity to be the meme.
So we just wanted to talk about TradeFi and basically specifically focus on Celsius because they have been a little odd for a while. I feel like they've always been on my radar as like things to not put full because I don't trust TradeFi. I don't trust these entities holding crypto for people because that concept to me is very anti-crypto. It's like, well, we want crypto because we want to custody ourselves. Why would we want some institution that is not a bank, not a decentralized entity? It's in the middle and hasn't been regulated by anyone and refuses to be regulated by anyone. So we just want to discuss Celsius. I think there's a lot of rumors going around, and it just seems unclear. But I think it's pretty clear after research and like layered things that are happening. So,
And honestly, after what happened today, that allegedly did not happen today, as per Celsius executives.
So, okay,
Yeah.
So to start, Celsius, it's based in London. You basically would deposit your crypto, and you can either lend it out, you can borrow it, but Celsius offers fixed rates for depositing your crypto onto Celsius. And I guess a lot of people find that to be safer. I personally find it to be a little lazy. Not lazy, but it's just like you're basically you're putting your crypto in someone else's hands and they're paying you a rate. And I think the issue with that is that no one really questioned, like, where is this money coming from? Because in order for someone to give you a fixed rate, like, they have to be doing something with all the money they've acquired so they can continuously return this rate. And in interviews, the CEO, Alex MASHINSKY, said that we pay out 80% of all profits, which is odd. It's quite high. If you paid out 80% of all of your profits from your company, how would you be able to have a successful and thriving company and still pay employees and still have money on your balance sheet? So even those statements
Well,
and those words are very sketchy to me.
so I would give a caveat with that, because when you're looking at like a business model, and when you're like, breaking down what is your overhead, what is like your operating cost, and then what is left over is profit. So that, like, I don't think in that statement he would have been considering like everything, that all of the money, like all of the revenue as profit. It's probably what is left over after like the operating costs are paid. That's what I would assume, right? Because that's what
But
like businesses
in
are
theory,
supposed to do. You don't only operate off of your profit.
but in theory, that's a business with revenue, correct? What revenue does Celsius have aside from customer deposits? Exactly. So it's in a normal business scenario, paying out 80% of profits while having ongoing flowing, income is fine. But when you have no revenue source aside from the assets deposited on your platform, it literally just states that you are literally benefiting from the usage of people depositing, which is problematic.
Well, also I believe that they were trading.
Yeah. So
I,
yeah,
they were trading what they were borrowing from people, which I think
so
is against the law.
no. So
I feel like that would be illegal.
So the problem
No?
is because they're a neobank, there is no regulation upon them. And then there are several videos that we're going to go through where he says, we're not a bank, so we don't need regulation. We're nothing like a
But you're
bank.
doing the thing that banks do.
But
You're doing
hypothetically,
what banks do.
but legally, they are not a bank. So it's not
Right.
illegal. So basically, what they're doing is what I would do. I would like dump my money into a protocol, lend it out, keep it. But they're doing it with millions of dollars and they're not actively managing it and tracking it. So this is an issue. It's like I can do this privately because I can manage my single account, right? Like I can manage my assets, I can
Mm-hmm.
track them. I don't know how I would perform with millions and billions of dollars. And personally, that is not a risk I would ever like to take just because of this market and everything that's happening. I just find that to be insane. Like I'm, so risk phobia that like I would never do that with a certain amount. It'd always be like a specific amount with a term limit. They're doing this with millions of dollars. And clearly, as cool as they are, we don't know how educated they are in DeFi. We don't.
That, and also it goes back to the end user, because a lot of people they were doing what they did with Luna. They were putting everything
Massive
into this
amounts.
company, because I don't even want to call it a protocol, because it's not a protocol.
It's not a
They're
protocol.
putting everything into this like pseudo bank middleman type of operation, that like they're custodying your crypto, and they're doing whatever they're gonna do to give you back money, like in
And
addition to
then
what you're letting them borrow. And you can also borrow from them and put your crypto up as collateral.
And another issue I had with them when I was looking at some of their wallets, they were literally labeled Celsius wallet. Like, so they're trading out of like giant wallets. So it's like, I think they're just moving funds and ghetto. It's giving ghetto
No,
for
it's very
crypto.
ghetto.
Because it's
It's
like,
very
why
ghetto. And
would
I
you?
also sorry, I also just don't like the idea of like lending, right? You put up crypto for collateral, okay, fine. But in a market that is as volatile as the crypto market is, I, how collateralized are those loans, right? Like, are they significantly over collateralized, or is it like
Yes.
a
No. They're probably, I don't know. I don't know whatever the rate is in specific loans, but it's not up to you to over collateralize other people's money in a loan that you're not actively managing, Like, I don't
right?
think you have that right. Like, you can't
I
over
also just don't get how
collateralize.
that works.
Well,
I
basically,
like
it's
I
like, so it's like me so okay, look, for example, so what if I went up to five people at my job and I'm like, hey, I can go trade for you. Give me like 10 grand, let me hold it. They all give me 10 grand. They deposit into my wallet address. I then pull the funds and put them into Aave protocol. I then borrow. I borrow against it. So when you do over collateralized loans, you're putting up, like, let's say I have 24 Bitcoin, right? And then I'm receiving about like X amount in DAI, right? Because that you over collateralize it and then you get a loan of a slightly lower, like maybe like 5K less, between 1 and 5K less of that. Then
mm-hmm.
I'm going to take all the DAI and then I'm going to go lend that out. And then I'm going to go get another loan. Do you see what I'm saying? And then they just keep doing this across the board. And then they take all of those yields and they put it back into the protocol and they pay out users with it. That's what they're doing. Yeah, it's stupid, even as I explain it like that. But
That's
with
so
millions
like,
with millions of dollars, that's the issue. So when we go into a bear market and you're already moving messy, you were moving messy before the bear market. Now the bear market got your ass and price went down and you're at liquidation price point and you're like, ooh.
well, so what I think what happens, and even though it's not directly related, I still think that this is still something that was kind of like triggered by Luna, because if you're using all of these assets to over collateralize, but then they lose their value, right?
Yeah.
Because of the huge market crash that just happened a month ago, then you're you're
Here, let
not
me.
really over collateralized
Well,
anymore.
so the issue I have with Alex Majinski, he lied and he said, oh, well, we weren't affected by Luna. He said, our money was moved. We have a team that watches steadily. We have a 24-hour surveillance team. And I'm like, well, if you have a 24-hour surveillance team, why aren't they watching all of your money in different protocols? Because there's so many little incidents coming from Celsius. I'm going to talk about they lost people's money also on top of this. Like they physically lost Ethereum. So yeah, so I'm gonna explain it. So the first time they had 120 worth of ETH. They gave it to Stakehound, which is one of the liquid staking protocols.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a third party, which is what I'm confused about. Why would you, as a third party, it's the user, it's their crypto, and then you're the receiving and holding deposits. Why would you then
So
take
you're
that
then
and
giving it to a fourth party?
exactly? And then they got the stake ETH, um, which staked ETH was, again, they were trying to do the thing where they have your ETH, then they get the stake ETH, and then Celsius has stake ETH essentially. So they have the stake ETH, and then Stakehound has the original stake Ethereum. However, when
you say staked ETH, you're talking about Ethereum that is being staked. You're not talking about like something like akin to Ethereum Classic.
No. So stake ETH is simply people. So there's three things. It's Rocket Pool, Stakehound, and then Lido Finance. Basically, instead of going to a validator on your own node for Ethereum 2.0 and locking up 32 Ethereum, you can put in whatever amount of Ethereum until like 4 of those protocols, and what they give to you is a staked ETH receipt, which is a liquid version of stake, but it's basically a receipt that says I deposited X, Y, and Z, and when the merge happens and you want to redeem it, you would then go back on the protocol and then swap out your staked ETH for your original ETH, right? You would unlock it essentially. Mm-hmm. But some people have been nasty and greedy, and they've been taking that stake ETH, putting in another DeFi protocol, lending it out, or taking that stake ETH, putting in another DeFi protocol, selling it for ETH, buying more ETH. They're lending out staked ETH held by other people, right? So the customer is depositing it on your protocol, and you as a third party are taking the tickets from the stake ETH that you deposited of other people's ETH that are locked until after the merge, and they're trading with that stake ETH and losing it in the market essentially. So in order for them to redeem it, they would have to buy themselves out of it. And I believe that's one of the reasons why Celsius shut down, because the redemption, they were going to be insolvent if everyone ran and snatched their ETH out. Like the people that didn't
at the same time.
Yes. So they weren't going to have enough money because remember, they're trying to like avoid liquidation, so they have to keep as much assets on hand as possible. If everyone redeemed their ETH, and then I think so there's the Stakehound situation with 120 million loss of ETH. So I'm going to quickly explain the Stakehound. With Stakehound, the third party had it, and then they put it in a wallet. Then they worked with a fifth party called Fireblock, and essentially, they did not communicate to Fireblock that they needed to insert their key when unlocking the ETH into a physical wallet. So then Stakehound reached out to a sixth party and did a key lock, but didn't tell Firehound to send their version of the key at the time. And then the ETH lent from Celsius to Stakehound was lost. And it's now locked in the wallet and unreachable. So, yeah. So that happened. But to me, I'm just like, well, that means you have no idea what you're doing if you thought that they were the appropriate people to reach out for that. Like, that's not okay. I just want to go over their article. Yeah, I don't know. And it's just, I don't know, just weird. Like, why would you trust someone? And then why would you just lend someone's ETH out? So that one was lost. And then there was a Badger DAO hack. They had a DAO hack, and it had like at least 75 Ethereum, well, $75 million worth of Ethereum in it. That hack happened, and they never recovered the funds. So they're losing ETH on top of being liquidated, on top of lending out too much. It's just like there's
on top of freezing assets.
They froze it because with losses they don't have enough to match redemption.
Right. Well, they don't have people's crypto, is why they're freezing it. I think, and I think that they're trying to buy back as much as they can, so that they have something to be able to redeem, while they have the protocol frozen. I also know that they are pushing down at the price that they will get liquidated by purchasing more Bitcoin, I believe. So now their liquidation price is if Bitcoin hits, I believe, like $14,000.
That's insane. And then just to go over the Stakehound situation, so Fireblock is the fifth party involved in this. They are a crypto service provider, and Stakehound accused them, and they're actually suing them. So as a result, the Israeli-based Fireblock is being sued for alleged negligence. So Stakehound is suing them.
This is 3 times in one day. Like, that we come across
Oh, Israel, yeah.
something that is Israeli connected. That's so funny and interesting.
So earlier reports claim Fireblocks failed to back up half of a key it was holding on behalf of Stakehound that they needed to access the 38,178 staked Ether, which is a native token of Ethereum. Fireblocks CEO tells a different story. According to Shalov, his company, which completed a transfer of nearly 700 billion in digital assets since launch, took Stakehound as a client in December under contracts for 2 services. Fireblocks custodial service, which was handled as a part of the company's regular operations in a unique partnership to create code that generates a cryptographic password for a process called staking, which pays cryptocurrency owners willing to lock up their assets as collateral. While Fireblocks' core business appears to be growing strong, clients are increasingly looking for new ways to tap into the staking opportunities without compromising security. It has nothing to do with our real service that we're providing to over 400 clients right now. None of our wallets of our clients were affected, including, by the way, Stakehound's wallets, which is weird, right? They're still using the wallet that we are providing for them. Fairly
Well,
factual
how was
issue.
nothing affected? How was nothing affected if 75 million was lost?
So they
Something
have
was
other accounts.
affected.
So they're saying that they have other accounts with Stakehound. And this situation was on Stakehound because Stakehound is still using them as a provider for services for the keys.
Okay, so they're just saying that their Ethereum didn't get lost. Someone else's Ethereum got lost.
No, they're saying they're not responsible for the loss occurred because this situation was specifically with Stakehound because they went to a six party to add another key when they were not required to. So yeah, and they still have other wallets outside of the Celsius conundrum that are with them. So it's like, well, if you're saying they lost it, why wouldn't you snatch all of your accounts if it's a security risk? So hold on. So there are actual issues.
That doesn't
exactly.
None of that makes sense. None of that makes sense to me. None of that sounds good. Like I just and for the people that like are putting their money into this stuff and like actively using DeFi or protocols like this, what are you doing? Like, what is going through your mind?
It's fine on an individual level, but on a massive level without watch. So if I'm doing DeFi, I'm watching it. I'm charting. I'm not charting, but I'm checking price. I'm checking the price of the assets to avoid impermanent loss. I have a calendar when I'm gonna pull my money out and send it back to my wallet. Like I am hyper aware. You cannot do this if you're not me. I would not trust a company that is not hyper aware that's saying, oh, we're not a bank, and just being so blah about millions to billions of other people's assets. That's not like healthy.
Well, I just think that people just don't pay close enough attention because you think like, okay, this is the legitimate company, right?
No, it never was.
And I just don't get how you can be like a pseudo traditional entity in crypto and like be trustworthy. Also, I just, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like first commandment of crypto is not your keys, not your crypto. And then a company comes out of nowhere and is like, oh, hey, by the way, give us your crypto and like we'll give you money back for it. Also, we're not a bank. But
listen to that theme. It's what the SEC has done. They have scared people so much that they have let people think that like, oh, I can get involved, but if I get involved via a third party or an ETF or even in my Roth IRA that I can't redeem for 4 years, that's safer. So, traditional finance is scaring people and making people do things that they would do in traditional finance. This is not traditional finance. It wasn't created for that. So I think, our show should be a testimony. Please research, do your own thing, because at the end of the day, you having control over your assets is going to be quicker for you to move it around than you having to wait to find out that they lost all your money.
That's the whole point. And then also, they have the same clause that Coinbase has. I'm sure they had it before Coinbase had it in their terms of service.
I'm so done with Coinbase.
If they be, oh yeah, no, me too.
Did you see the Netherlands thing?
I didn't, but when before my parents moved, I was trying to move my stepmom's her XRP off of Coinbase and put her onto a ledger, just so
Mm-hmm.
that there's no issues when she's out of the
Mm-hmm.
country. And um I just kept getting error messages and like nothing was sending, and the customer service ultimately it ended up being helpful, and I just had like a really like annoying and
I've had to help their
unnecessary
customer service
experience.
before. I've had to like go through things with them. It was very angry. I was very mad. I was like, okay.
Y'all hiring?
Uh,
No, but yeah, I just I don't really care for Coinbase anymore. I don't care to use
mm-mm.
any platform that has in their terms of service that if they become insolvent, that if they fuck their shit up, that they get to keep my money and they get to keep my assets. No, absolutely not. I will have it on cold storage for the rest of my life.
Yeah, just use these platforms as windows to buy things from and take it out immediately, but it's not meant to store things because okay. So Fireblocks and Staycount, they worked together to create a program that generated BLS signatures. Very interesting. I have no idea what this is. Then Staycount then used the script to generate its own BLS signature outside of Fireblocks ecosystem and began working with a third-party custodian, CoinCover, to back up the signature. After developing the program to generate the BLS key with Fireblocks, then used it to create its own key. Staycount sent 38,178 Ether, worth 76 million at the time of writing, to the Ethereum 2.0 smart contract. Slobs added that while the relationship was being set up, Staycount did not want to keep the key with them for the entirety for security purpose and asked Fireblocks to hold on to half of it. He further stated that this request was spoken in agreement between Fireblocks and Staycount rather than a contractual obligation. The original agreement states that Fireblocks does not support BLS signatures as a part of their typical line of business, and that they will introduce Staycount to a third party they can store with. He declined to share the actual contractual agreement between the companies with Forbes, citing the pending lawsuit. The splitting of Staycount's BLS key between Staycount and Fireblocks is where things went typically wrong. The Staycount never followed up with Fireblocks to tell them to send their half of the BLS key to CoinCover. In March, the Fireblocks computer where half of Staycount's BLS signature was in cold storage failed, leaving Staycount with half a password needed to recover the ETH locked in the Ethereum 2.0 smart contract. Shalov said the Staycount never told Fireblocks to send you see, to send their half of the BLS key to CoinCover or utilize a built-in tool to verify that the backup was successful. The oversight was discovered in an annual disaster recovery drill conducted by Fireblocks in April. In 2nd of May, they were informed by one of their custody providers, Fireblocks, that the staked Ethereum may have been rendered inaccessible because of the failure by Fireblocks to secure the cryptographic key they were required to do. Yeah, so So someone
What do
has to
you
like,
mean half of the key? What do you like?
this is stupid.
I'm trying to process. I'm really trying to process that right now because what do you mean you gave them half of the key? You didn't. It was a spoken agreement. What happened to the other half of the key?
Well,
So you're
basically,
telling me they lost it?
no. So basically, when unlocking it, Staycount went to a third party, the coin key people, and I guess they were supposed to submit the key together, but did not communicate to Fireblocks when to submit the key. And then Staycount tried to open it without submitting Fireblocks key because they didn't communicate, and I think it's locked. So
Well, why didn't they communicate?
Shalov emphasized that holding this key fragment was not. So he emphasized that holding the key fragment was not part of Staycount's contract with Fireblocks, and the company always required the clients to back up their keys with a third party. He added that Staycount is still using Fireblocks custody for all of its crypto assets. Yeah, so basically Staycount.
And this is again just for continuity. So
this is the
Celsius
first where they fucked up the first time.
So Celsius put like assets on Fireblocks.
They staked their ETH with Staycount.
Okay, so Celsius staked their ETH with Staycount, then Staycount made a deal with Fireblocks, and then that's where
No, Staycount,
or
they
made a
created a key to help verify the signer of the staking agreement to protect the asset. But then they went and
okay.
had a third party they added a third party that they didn't agree to. They had a third party back up the signature, and then when Staycount went to access it, they didn't communicate with Fireblocks at the time. So Fireblocks was supposed to send a half key that they never received, basically.
And did Celsius know at any point that, like, well, obviously until before this happened,
Probably not.
that this was going to happen?
No,
Probably
because
not.
when you're using 27 people to complete one task, who's going to tell you which one of the 27? Again, you
Okay.
can't, you know what I mean? So it's giving negligence. It's giving, if you were my doctor, I would sue you. But yeah, so that was the first time they lost millions of dollars. Let's find the second. 1 second. But yeah, this is negligence. I don't care even if this did happen, it shouldn't have happened. You shouldn't have let it out to a party and you didn't know what they were doing or who they were working with. Like, it should be a contractual. So it's like, are they getting contracts when they lend the money out? Like, what is their protocol? I just don't get it.
Yeah, none of that makes any sense to me. Like,
That sounds
at all whatsoever.
That sounds so irresponsible. It's like saying, hey, like, I let Billy borrow my money, but then Billy, like, took my money and then gave it to Tom, and then Tom, like, gave it to Jerry, and they put it in a bag, and now they don't remember where the bag is. It's like, okay, well, I didn't tell you to do any of that, so, like, none of these excuses work.
And then the users that are putting their assets on Celsius have no idea either.
No, because
that these things are being done with their assets, because I don't think this is like Celsius's assets. It's like user assets.
Yeah, that's why it said, like, them saying, oh, I'm paying out 80% of the yield, like, we're supposed to be grateful. Yeah, because it's what your profit margin comes from. So it's not something you should say you're grateful for. So 1 second. So yeah, that happened.
I don't remember the guy's name. I did watch an interview, and like he's very prominent in, like, the financial world, but he essentially, like, called out Alex and was like, this is a Ponzi scheme. Like, you're trading other people's money.
It is.
Like,
negligently.
And also, so this man, there's one thing to, like, have someone that actually, like, I think Do Kwon really, really, really believed in, like, what he was doing. I genuinely do. I think it was still a Ponzi scheme, but I think he believed in the protocol, or like, just in crypto in general. And Alex said, like, essentially that, like, Bitcoin has no value in this interview with this guy. Yeah. But then he was saying that, like, oh, Bitcoin does have value, and then, like, we're able to get yield on it. And it's like, how do you get yield on Bitcoin?
And someone was like, how do you get yield on Bitcoin? What are you doing with it? How are you getting that yield?
Yeah, because to my knowledge, you can't stake Bitcoin. Like, there's no protocol to stake. I could be wrong. To my knowledge, there's nothing to stake Bitcoin on.
You can't stake it, but you would have to deposit it into one of the lending protocols and lend it out. So that's why he didn't answer it, because it would have to be a clarification as to what you're doing with your funds.
But then also, in the same note, you're saying that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. That the intrinsic value of Bitcoin is that of the intrinsic value of gold or fiat money, which is just the belief that people put in it, or the value that people associate to it. Which, I guess, like, if we want to get into, like, philosophical,
he just shouldn't be making comments.
Important.
Yeah.
No.
He's not the one to be getting philosophical about crypto.
And he was saying this interview took place before this happened, right?
And he's really bad at interviews. So, like, it's my God.
Well, if you're a liar, you're gonna be bad at interviews.
No, he's, like, I guess, to someone who is not well versed in studying psychos, like, would see him as being, like, a friendly older man. I think it's that. I think they wanted someone older, relatable, because it's like, hey, I'll use your platform. You seem to be trustworthy. You're an older man that seems to know something about finance, and
Well,
Like,
I wouldn't say
and
necessarily
that's,
relatable, but I would say trustworthy because,
but
like, oh, I can't relate to that guy. But
no, but
you would see someone that looks like they're in like a higher position of authority or like a higher place in the world, and no.
it's
Mm-mm.
relatable because look at the people who are using Celsius. People who use Celsius are people who are lazy DeFi traders, right? It's either lazy DeFi traders throwing their assets that they made from trading and like dumping it in there like extra yield, whatever. But
Or
mostly,
probably like older investors, like older crypto
yes.
investors
No, no,
that
no,
they
no.
feel because since they know the
No, it's not
traditional
older.
space better.
No, older crypto investors have been like,
No.
that's no. So it's people who, the same people who liked Anchor, they like took their house equity, took their savings money, and like, this is okay because it works like it's like a neo. It's fine. So it's like older people, people who don't know very much about crypto, people who wanted to be tax aversive, people who didn't want to have to pay for every single fee and transaction. So by
Mm-hmm.
so again, it's like the average mid-range 35 to 40 to 50, not knowing very much, but seeing the yield. Um,
Right.
and another thing with the yield is they're evil because their sell token, right? And this is why we can talk about the whole sell thing, but I don't care what happens with that because at the end of the day, they were offering higher interest rates on all assets to be repaid in sell token. But remember, they just made the sell token. Exactly. So it's like you're giving
What
away
is
something.
what is the purpose of it? Yeah, what is the
The sell
purpose of
token
it
and the
other
sell
than to serve as a mode of
uh, exactly free redemption for them that
I don't
doesn't
like
cost them
that.
very much.
I don't like
Yeah.
that. I
So
don't like
then
that.
it's
That
also
doesn't
an
make any sense.
it's also an ECR20 token. So they just made them, minted them, and it only benefits them if the price grows. And like everyone's trying to raise the price up because of the order. But I'm like, at the end of the day, I respect protecting people's investments, but that should have never been an option to pay people higher yields in that token because it only benefits Celsius if it grows in price. If that makes any sense. Like it's like, oh God, people are
Mm-hmm.
redeeming it, so I don't have to pay them crypto. I can just keep paying them this
Well, it's
token. And if it goes down,
right,
it's not
but
my fault.
also
I end up
it's
paying them less.
literally it's like if I'm like, okay, give me dollars and I'm gonna pay you back in buttons.
Oh my God, that was the best reference I've heard about this situation all
like,
day.
like I just that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand. Like again, I'm smart, but I'm also not that smart. So if it just doesn't make any sense, if I can't break it down, if I don't like it, I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just not gonna do it. Also, I've had to learn, and I think both of us learned this like early on in our trading and our investing journeys, is that like we have to be grateful and show
Yeah,
gratitude
not be
for the money
greedy.
that we do make, and not to be greedy, because when you're greedy, that's when you get burned. When
Uh,
you're greedy is what that's when the market starts to bite you back. Like
oh,
you
I think
have
I
to
found
you
the
have to be very
interview.
thankful.
I found the interview. Hold on.
Yo, that guy was yelling at him. It was like it was a little spicy, and he was getting very spicy with the moderator as well. I appreciate it. I appreciated his energy.
Well, because you can only fool so many people. Like people who are like actually like me and you, like we've never used any of these protocols. Like all of this happening is
No,
just like we're like literally like, damn, people actually use it. Like wow, like that's how I feel. I feel really bad because I just thought it was common sense. Like yo, like because remember when all of these platforms were made, you could not withdraw. So if I can't withdraw my things instantly, I don't use it. Like I don't use it. I don't touch it. Like my money's not on it. I'm not connecting a card because
no interest.
I don't even know if you guys are actually like processing the transactions on a blockchain or if you've made a UI that simply shows that you charge my card for this amount. Showing what the because you can I study UI. You can literally make it look
Yeah,
at
you can do that, or you can make it look like. How do we know that it's actually there if we can't see it on the blockchain? And then you're telling me that I can't make withdrawals like off rip, like ult- eventually they got to a point that people were able to make withdrawals, but why wasn't that like an automatic thing? To me, you're telling me that you're getting the first suckers, you're doing whatever you're gonna do with their stuff, you're letting them think that it's still on there, and then once you've like established yourself up to a point to where you can sustain other people withdrawing, or those initial people like beginning to take their withdrawals, like that's what you're doing. um Nah, dog, that's a no for me.
And the other issue with
That's
that
a
is
no for
that
me.
the issue with it too is that he was going on Twitter yelling at people like, well, you can always withdraw from us, like,
Yeah,
and
he was doing the dope one. He was doing the
yeah.
dope one.
And then the day he did that,
And
the
then he
last
got real,
one,
and
he
and then he
snapped,
ended up
and then
deleting the tweet.
next day, no redemptions, no withdrawals, and I
Yeah,
was like,
same thing.
he's, I don't like him because it's like,
And also, like, he deleted the tweet. At least Doquan left his tweets up. I have a little bit of
I can
respect
find
for
it. I
that.
feel like I
I
saved
have a
them
little bit
so
of
many
respect for that.
times. But
But
yeah, it's.
it's
Here,
just
I
a
found it. I
hot
got
ass
it. Hold
mess.
on.
Yay.
So this was like right before. I think it was like the day before. Hold on. Let me see it. I hope retail can get out. I've been hearing all of these accounts locked. That would be similar to Luna. We shall see. Mike, do you even know one person who has a problem withdrawing from Celsius? Why spread FUD and misinformation? If you're paid for this, then let everyone know that you're picking sides. Otherwise, our job is to fight trade fi together. 6,
I
11,
remember
22.
I remember reading this
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing this tweet. I think I may have retweeted it, but I definitely remember seeing this tweet. And oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And he literally did the dope one.
And I also want everyone to know, saying the word FUD is gaslighting in crypto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when people say that, when someone is, because it's like, people should be able to ask questions. Like, you know, like it's
right.
their money.
If your automatic response is FUD, then like, why don't you want me to be fearful, doubtful, or uncertain?
Okay. So
why are you so angry about that?
Why are you mad? And then another tweet. If you don't have free and unlimited access to your own funds, are they really your funds? This aged like an avocado in the sun on a hot summer
They
day.
still have unbank yourself on their website.
So strange. Only if you could actually unbank yourself, we would not be in this situation today. I'm trying to find
because
the date.
Like, I got a homie who his bank froze his whole bank account. You feel me? Like, he can't withdraw any of his funds either, and that sounds very banky to me.
But that's what I'm trying to say to people. It's like no one signed up for this platform because they wanted this to happen. This is not.
No, of course not. I just think I really think that 1, people are greedy, and 2, they don't think very critically, and 3, like, people just aren't that smart.
So that message was like the 11th, June 13th. Hold on. I'm trying to find the date. So I think it was like 2 days later. But yeah, I think it's just like making people feel safe, you know? Like you make people feel safe. You set it up like this is fine, this is chill, it's not as much work, and you lead people into an illusion. And it's like when other projects do it, you know, again, I think you should invest based on like your risk management and your research, right? But when these platforms come up, you're not allowed to really do research. It's kind of like, trust me, bro. And like, you know, we can even talk about BitBoy. You know how BitBoy was doing an AMA with him 2 weeks before? BitBoy's on my shit list. He got paid for it. He had a referral code and got paid with it. And then he tried to leave the lawsuit, and it was just like, you took a check last week for them. So it's like, we can't trust these platforms that don't allow us to.
BitBoy's assets are, he's not able to withdraw his either.
I bet he feels dumb because
he's not. No, so in the video that I sent you earlier today, before I told you it was the one that said like how to get like your assets off of Celsius.
Yeah. It was the join the class.
So in that, right. So in that video, I believe it was a Moon Lambo video. I love that name. But I believe it was a Moon Lambo video, and he said that like BitBoy essentially said that like that he can't get his assets off, and that they are insolvent allegedly, but apparently they're insolvent.
But the thing about it is, why would he feel that it's okay to use his platform and his fan base to go on an AMA with him and mislead people. And it's just like, we have to have some integrity in the crypto community. I would never, I've always been like, don't touch that. Like, that's stupid. Like, don't do that. Like, I've always been like, and I'm pretty sure he's aware that even if it does pay a rate, that there is risk. And he is a very smart person. But I've also seen like his rates for his, like what he charges. He makes like 90,
Mm-hmm.
he makes like 20 grand for a shout out. So all I'm saying is that, exactly, exactly. You knew what it
But
was.
that's what, like, obviously, a
No.
reason why we're doing this is for the reach, right? But it's not worth it to me to like be dishonest and mislead someone for 20 grand or for
Because
any amount of money. It's just not worth it to me.
Because when I research projects and I want someone to be involved in this space, I don't want their first time to be like, yo, I can't get my money out. What's going on? And then I'm their reference.
Right.
And then, so I normally, and I'm really, I really don't recommend projects to people. I recommend research. I'm like, oh, this is a fun thing, but I am never one to recommend a project because I know things can go left every day. I'm ready to go 0 to 100 all the time. That's just me. Like, but I also don't invest
Right.
in projects that don't look legitimate from the start because all of my investments stand with the tech. And if
Well,
you've
again,
noticed,
yes, I don't care about price right
you
now.
care about
Price is
price.
irrelevant to
It's
me.
about tech and what it
I
actually
care
does.
about the technology. Right, exactly. And again, whether or not it's going to be useful or if it solves real world problems, like not something that's there just for fun. Like if you have a company that is creating a token just so that they can pay you back in it, like
You are the liquidity. You're simply the liquidity for the project. And they need more liquidity. And they're always going to need more liquidity.
that part.
But they're not going to
That
know how
part.
to navigate the space when they run out of liquidity. And then all the dominoes fall. Simply put. It's gonna keep happening like this. And that's why all of this is happening, because you're dealing with people who don't know how to deal with these assets because they're not technology based. They are literally just like, oh my God, money, and playing with it
Right.
like they're little kids.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, absolutely. And now like they may or may not be bailed out, which I don't agree with. This one.
so
Yes, absolutely. Peter Schiff, that's that guy's name.
before we get into it, whoever bails them out, they're gonna do what I think they're gonna do. They're gonna buy everyone's assets and keep it. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
if you have any ounce of a soul, you are a horrible person if you think that that's okay. You cannot buy stolen goods and keep them. And in cryptocurrency,
Apparently apparently it's gonna be
no.
Goldman. Apparently it's gonna be Goldman. Or allegedly, like that's who they're talking to. But
Mm,
from
you
what I
can't.
read and from what I understand, that it's gonna be Goldman that is probably going to end up buying them out.
Good. More money for
And
users
then
next
I
year then.
think
Good. I hope it's Goldman. That way the lawsuit's bigger. The check's bigger. The class action check's bigger. It's not right.
but apparently like they're only gonna like return users like a fraction of
And
whatever,
it's
or that
like,
they're gonna
how
wait
does
until
he?
everything just gets really really low, so that they can buy it on the dip, and then when they buy it obviously the price is gonna go up, and then they keep the profit and they just like they return to people at whatever the price like they were insolvent at,
I
or
feel
at
like
which they
everyone
reached
should just start
insolvency.
suing them now. Just start the lawsuits because it's like, no, this is like, I'm not being rude, but like, this is it. This is ridiculous. 12 days, no response, nothing done, no
Well,
communication.
so that's what
Like,
people are doing. So they're trying to like find like a legal workaround, to like submit like a formal complaint or like some kind of legal document, saying that like basically like you have my money, I'm sending it to this judge, like hey judge, like they have my money, they're not responding, they're not doing anything. And if so many people do it, in addition to the fact that Celsius got so much shit going on, that they're not going to like have the time or capacity to then like respond to any of those letters from any of their users, then those users win by default. So I think it may come to a point to where all these people have to get their money back legally, and then it might deter Goldman or whoever was considering buying them out from buying them out at that point, and
well,
then they're just by themselves.
remember they still have all that ETH that's staked in the ETH point 2.0 contract. So they're basically they screw themselves over because they really can't do anything until that ETH is unlocked, and we don't even know how that merge is physically gonna go because everyone's making it sound like, oh, it's just a little switch down the street. It's literally forking a blockchain, but not forking a blockchain. It's very more technical than that. And again, that needs to be tested and proven. And some of some of the pre-merges on some of the test nets, they had some issues and bugs. So now we have to wait until that happens, and then the bugs have to be worked out. And then I think they have to do the sharding process. And then hopefully in 2023, you will see that ETH. But they need that ETH now, and that's the problem. That's why they're trying to buy them, because they know even if they are bankrupt, they're not fully bankrupt because of the ETH that is staked. So the long-term issue with that too is that when that ETH is unlocked, that's why I think they should be sued, because even when the ETH is unlocked, they may not have enough to be redeemable to original providers. And upon that note, they should be sued, because at the end of the day, why don't you guys have a separate amount that's separate from client deposits that you're trading with? It shouldn't be all of clients' deposit. It should be a percentage. How are you trading with everyone's deposit? That doesn't even make sense. Like, even I can give you like grace
and all of it. Like, that's real bold and real confident. Like, I wish I had that level of confidence. I would rule the world.
I mean, you wouldn't even do this even if you had, because you just like, this is.
Well, no, I wouldn't be a horrible person. But damn, if I have that level of confidence, I'd be ruling the world.
No, but risk management is key in crypto. I don't care how much money you have. You don't have risk management, you'll never survive it. You'll never survive.
Well, risk management is key in life, right? You don't want to ever give more or risk more than what you are willing to lose. Like, only risk what you are willing to lose. And if you're not willing to lose anything, then you shouldn't be risking anything.
But I think that's the thing with them, is just like they don't care about the risk analysis because it's not their money. And they
well, I'm also saying user end. I'm saying on like the individual end. If you're not willing to risk, but institutions should be held to a higher standard than individuals, because why are you so over leveraged?
But
we've seen so many financial crises, like global financial crises, due to like greed and just like over leveraging. And it's just not sustainable. It's never sustainable. It's never going to be sustainable. So you can only do it for so long before everything comes crashing down. And just like the smugness to go on TV and be called out by this guy who like,
and be rude to him. He's very rude.
Yeah, and be rude to him. I advise everyone to watch this full interview like on their own time. I love it. But yeah, it's just no. It's just no.
And one comment I wanted to make. So what is the SEC doing? Because this is I just want to make this clear in this video. So SEC is honestly not even supposed to be touching crypto. They're just messy and have a lot of free time on their hands, right? And they're making it their duty to regulate, loosely based air quotes, right? But an institution like this, and you've sued BlockFi, you've sued a lot of these neobanks, you're aware that this isn't safe for people to use. Why weren't they stopped before this happened? Because they were aware. They did speak to them. Like, how you guys were aware of the potential risks with platforms like BlockFi, Celsius, and Voyager. You guys were aware that they may or may not be using risk management. They have a lot of assets on hand. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of issues. To me, I feel like that is where you start regulation. Those are entities that are still like within the bounds of U.S. frameworks to address, right? They're not fully decentralized companies. They are still legal companies that have holdings in the U.S. Why wouldn't you?
Well, this is a wholly centralized company. It's not even like there's not even a little bit of decentralization about it. This is wholly centralized. This is a traditional company.
Why isn't Voyager and Celsius in court right now? Like, they literally should be having. XRP should not be having a lawsuit that they're having. These people should be in a lawsuit with the SEC right now. And the fact that they always like to walk around like crypto needs regulation. Like, no, you need to know how to issue regulation for centralized companies using crypto, because they're literally the reasons why we're in this mess right now. If we took the time.
And honestly, I feel like I feel like this would meet the definition of a security, because it's like you're expecting to like receive gains
And you're
based off
saying,
of the work of others. The work
and
of
you're,
others is the trading, even though they didn't admit to it, but obviously that's what they were doing, is the trading of Celsius, like using your assets to make money to give you a yield. That's the work of others, dog. Like,
and you're in recorded interviews stating that you pay out 80% of your profits to users, which is typically done when you're offering a security. I just, but again, I guess it's not a primary concern to protect investors in reality. So I'm gonna play this video. I'm just frustrated, honestly.
Potentially hit another one. Are you moderating this, or are you just here to tout Bitcoin too? Is that your main goal of Bitcoin?
I'm here to play both sides.
I'm making a point here. You don't need to argue with me. My point is
highlighting the price facts, Peter.
Yeah,
go ahead and
I know that. I know that. But let me finish making my point. You're the moderator. All right?
I know, and I will continue to do so. But
yes,
finish
I
your
know,
point.
but
I can make my own case, no problem.
You're clearly biased, and I get that. You're part of the shills out there that are trying to get people to buy Bitcoin. You probably have a bunch of Bitcoin advertisers. And my point is, we've had an unprecedented amount of money spent advertising Bitcoin. I mean, every time I turn on financial television, all I see, one commercial after another, highly produced, very slick Madison Avenue campaign trying to get people to buy Bitcoin or some other crypto. All of this push, massive amounts of money spent, all kinds of retail people getting sucked in, and the price hasn't gone up. So what that tells me is that there's massive distribution going on. The stronger hands that got in early have been pumping this market up, and they are gradually unloading their digital tokens to the public. They're spending all this money to con people into buying what they want to sell. And yeah, you have some people that have Johnny come lately that have been attracted by the greed, which always happens at tops of every bubble. Some of the people who were negative early on throw in the towel, they capitulate. They need to get in on it because they've missed so much action. And you get some people that come in, and that's happened. But the momentum is going to drop. Bitcoin is going to crack. Maybe once it gets back down below 20,000, you'll have a lot more selling coming in. I think a lot of people have taken out loans against their Bitcoin, which they hadn't been able to do in the past. So you have a leverage bet now among the hodlers. I think when the margin calls come, there's not going to be a way to meet them. You're going to have forced liquidation. There's not going to be anybody to take the other side of the trade. It's not like you got a bunch of shorts in Bitcoin that are going to cover. It's just going to fall into a vacuum. The whole market is going to implode. The losses are going to be horrific.
So,
it doesn't take catalyst. It doesn't.
Alex, let's touch on Peter's point of leverage, because that has been a new development with Bitcoin. And there are a lot of people there that have taken out a lot of leverage against their Bitcoin trades. And as we know, when that happens, it can cause a collapse very, very quickly and very, very suddenly. So what's your answer to that, Alex?
Well, we again, I'm not talking hypotheticals, right? I mean, again, we have 1.5 million customers. Like you said, they hold over $25 billion worth of digital currencies, mostly Bitcoin. And when I give you facts, these are facts from the community. It's not some hyperbole from what this person thinks or that person thinks. So we don't see much leverage in the system. And the recent drop rate, by the way, from 69 to 60 was all liquidations on people who were on margin. So meaning there's almost no margin left at that 55 to 60,000 level, right? So what's happening with Bitcoin every year or two is that a new base is being established, right? The base used to be 15,000.
Explain support and resistance. I just wanted to ask a question. I'm sorry. I'm very disturbed.
Yes, he did just mansplain support and resistance.
So confused. The clip's gonna be 5 in the video. All right, I'm so sorry.
1,000, then it became 29,000. Now it's probably 45 to 50,000, and you're just not going to see Bitcoin go below that for a variety of reasons. And look, this is
for every time he's wrong.
below those price levels. So
Which price
Peter,
level?
look, it's not too late to buy Bitcoin.
Well,
it's time for a shift. Peter, it's time for a shift.
If I want to lose money, it's not too late. I could buy Bitcoin and lose a bunch of money. I understand. I have a hard time believing that all of the margin debt somehow has been liquidated on the move back to 59,000. That now there are no more people that have debt on their Bitcoin. There's no way that that's the truth.
All exchanges disclose all the positions. They tell you exactly how many people are long, how many are shorts. Part of how Celsius creates yield is by lending to these institutions, to exchanges and institutions who are putting in the long or short positions. So we know exactly.
He's a liar. Okay, so he says that he's only lending to exchanges and institutions, right? So in theory, that would be great. But I think he was doing a little bit of that, but he was using DeFi protocols more. That's the problem. And I think this is his excuse. This was his original excuse, was I'm Celsius. I'm lending 10 million of crypto to Coinbase, right? Like that's what we do. Gentle, it's an institution. That's normal, right? That's not what he was doing. He's a liar. And like for him to say that is so, don't you think that's weird? It's really weird.
Yeah.
Why would you like lie about your lending practices?
And I'm sorry.
What is the leverage is? And by the way,
I just wanted to say, to say so confidently that the support is not going to be broken in Bitcoin, like,
sir,
do you know what you're saying?
So I'm really
do you know
scared
what you're saying?
He now gives me grifter vibes. Like he doesn't really even know like the core foundations
because
price analogy.
If you know anything about crypto and like and the market cycles, you know that you're gonna see like an 80% retracement from all-time highs. And that's not just in Bitcoin. That's like literally in anything. Like an 80% retracement from an all-time high is normal. So if you're saying if Bitcoin's top so far has been 69,000 and you're saying that we're not going to retrace below 50,000, like that's psychotic.
You're a lie.
And this man really just said this like on TV. Calmly,
baby, be quiet.
With ease and confidence. I just don't, and wrong.
Okay, let's watch him lie a little bit more.
The way, if you want to join our risk department, we need people who are anti-Bitcoin to come and tell us all the things we should worry about.
Are you talking about just your book of business or throughout the entire world? You're telling me that there's no more leverage on Bitcoin, that all the loans have been repaid?
We are dealing with 300 counterparties, right? So we watch the entire market. I'm not saying there's no leverage. I'm just telling you that the retail, you're talking about retail people buying on leverage. You can measure that very, very easily, right? That is something that is available. You can go to Open Glass, or you can go to a bunch of Masari. All of these platforms show you exactly the leverage. Let's put it this way. The stock market is at all-time leverage, right? The leverage in the stock market is the highest it's ever been in history.
Yeah, look, the stock market's a bubble too. I'm not going to deny that.
That's a bubble of hundreds of trillions of dollars. So
Bitcoin is only
bubble?
Bitcoin is a bigger bubble in that the stock market has
the dollar market or the crypto market.
Look, the stock market is overvalued, right? Bitcoin has no value. 100% of its price is a bubble.
So, Alex, does Bitcoin have intrinsic value?
So, just like gold and just like the dollar, Bitcoin derives its value from the fact that other people derives value to it, or it has certain value. Gold has zero value. Okay. Yes, you can use it in jewelry, and you can use it to build the high fidelity electronic
crack, because like right before this video started, he was in the back doing some things. This man just went on live television and said that gold has no value.
And said that Bitcoin, but you're comparing Bitcoin to gold, and you're saying gold has no intrinsic value.
But that's one of Bitcoin's greatest comparisons.
we can philosophize about like what worth means, right? But oh my goodness. So you're saying, how can you say that like it's not a bubble and it's not going to go below this, but then you compare it to something that you say has no intrinsic value, and then even like as a whole of Bitcoin, gold, and fiat, you're saying that all of their value derives from the value that people put into it, meaning that there's no intrinsic value, right? Because intrinsic is that it's valuable on its own. I don't need to tell you that it's valuable to make it valuable. It's already valuable on its own, right? And then to try to like divide the stock market and Bitcoin when there's so many companies on the stock market that have Bitcoin on their balance sheets.
Like, I've never seen someone talk so like absently, and this is the CEO behind billions of
and just be so wrong. It's just wrongness that is coming out of his mouth.
It's the loud and wrong though. That's a specific type of wrong. Like, you could be wrong, but like quiet, like, oh well, I don't know, Charlie. Like really gentle, but like to be confident and to just speak so negatively and have no concern. And this is the man you're leaving all your money with when you deposit into Celsius. His leadership,
right? Someone that just says words to say words and for no other reason.
Oh my god.
Equipment, but that doesn't mean it has any value. So the point is, since all the value is derived from the fact that all of us vote with our pockets for gold, dollars, or for Bitcoin, and the vote has been casted over the last 13 years, there's no argument about which one of these assets is the one that people trust, right? Or at least the people who decided to migrate their dollars from the fiat system. So we're not talking about a hypothetical. We're talking about $3 trillion that migrated from the fiat world to the crypto world. And since we all vote for it every day, right? We vote to HODL, we vote to basically not use the Bitcoin as a form of payment. We only use it as a store of value, right? Again, the dollar is a phenomenal form of payment.
Did he say it has no intrinsic value? Like he just stated.
How can something not be valuable, but then have a store of value?
Because the thought of the store of value is based on being valuable and having that asset.
And you're saying it's only valuable because people place value into it? Like, really, I feel like again, if you're just not that smart and you're like, oh yeah, CEO of a company, and you just are easily impressed and you hear this guy talking, you're probably like, yeah, this man is saying some things, and it's like, he's just saying words.
It's literally like watching Trump speak.
He's just saying words.
When people just say things, anything that makes sense to you, and you're just like, oh yeah, sure. Like, this man is using words. We like words.
Payment, but it's a horrible store of value. Bitcoin is exactly the opposite. It's a mirror image. It's the other side of the coin, because it's an exceptional store of value, but it's a bad form of payment.
All right, Peter, let's have...
I'm sorry, that's also not what mirror image means. That's not what mirror image means.
And half the maxis want Bitcoin to be an adoption of payment. So like, why would you say that? Because it's either like the whole fundamental, like, we want to use Bitcoin, right? It's supposed to be a store of value and even an easy payment system. We all know that there are other ones that have better usage of each, theory. But that is there. Like, if someone was wearing a Bitcoin shirt, that would be on the Bitcoin shirt. Like, those two themes.
I think Bitcoin was a great prototype.
It was. It's like the mother. So Bitcoin is like the mother.
I think it's a great prototype. I think like AIM, like how AIM Instant Messenger was a great prototype and like a segue into like iMessage. Like Bitcoin is like AIM. That's what I see Bitcoin as.
But
I have you respond to Alex's notion that consensus has already made the decision.
All right. Look, first of all, of course people want to buy Bitcoin. They don't want it because they want to use it as a medium of exchange. They don't want it as a replacement for the dollar or the euro. They think they're going to get rich. People want to buy Bitcoin because they think it's going to the moon, right? They don't think that's going to happen to gold. They know it's not going to happen to the dollar. So, but when people actually want a alternative to fiat money, something that can be both a store of value, a unit of account, and a medium of exchange, then they would want to have your tokens backed by gold much more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin can never be a store of value. You could buy Bitcoin today at 60,000, and in a month it could be at 10,000. It could be lower. It's not a store of value. Just because it went way up, that's a speculative asset. That's not a stable, conservative store of value. All you're looking at is a small window of time, and you're seeing this huge 10-year bubble where people have gambled and gotten rich hodling something that's basically intrinsically worthless. And when you say something like gold has no value, well, basically, according to you, nothing has any value. There's no value in anything, and it's all worthless. And therefore, we might as well buy Bitcoin because nothing on this earth has any actual value. And so, then we can just describe value. No, you said gold is worthless. Gold has no value. That is such nonsense.
All right, Alex, let Peter finish that thought.
I said all three of them derive their value from exactly the same source, which is
no, they don't.
Well,
no, they don't. Gold,
they do.
No, gold,
right? I mean,
no. Bitcoin.
You agree that behind the US dollar, there's about $100 trillion of unfunded liability.
Look, well, I agree that the dollar is a problem. Bitcoin is not the solution to that problem. It's a bigger problem. Bitcoin is.
All right.
Bitcoin is 100% faith.
Alex, let's address Peter's point of whether Bitcoin is indeed a currency or a store of value asset, or is it a speculative asset? Because that was one of the counterpoints that Peter was making. So let's tackle that issue.
Wait,
again, I can say
crypto.
I believe so. I believe so. I feel like he's like a Jamie Dimon.
But the argument he has could be applied to fiat. Like the whole, it was on a legal document, but like the faith of the US dollar is the faith of the US government, and maybe.
So it's not only the faith of the US government, it's the weapons and the arms and the might and the force and the violence of the US government and the US military. That is what keeps the dollar dominant. It's violence. It's not, we really trust America. It's, damn, we really don't want America to fuck our shit up. And that's it. Like,
yeah, but still,
violence.
Like
violence is what backs up the US dollar.
Half our population, our population, mostly died during COVID. Then the other half hates us because of abortion rights taken away. The third part of it are Trump supporters that don't believe in voting and participating in the United States government. Like, how strong are we? Like, loosely based, but
we got nukes. We got the nukes. We got
there's like 40,000 people that can't be in the military anymore because they weren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Yeah.
Say that gold is a speculative asset. Because
but focusing on Bitcoin, should we be looking at it as a currency or store of value?
Gold and US dollars are all speculative assets. They're all speculative assets. Why? Because they all depend every day on, are there more buyers or sellers? Okay, the value of dollars is determined every day by how many buyers and sellers show up for the US dollar. And against all odds, the US dollar is increasing in value, right? In the last few weeks, against all odds, with the inflation numbers and the bond markets freezing and the COVID and everything else, more and more people are buying dollars. So because when there's this uncertainty, people feel more safe with the US dollar than with other fiat currencies. And the same way that the US dollar goes up and down in value, gold goes up and down in value, the same way Bitcoin goes up and down in value. The rules are exactly the same. Claiming that one of them is somehow different than another.
So why?
Yes, you
mining, like the miners like selling it during times of need, and then I don't understand why wouldn't he bring up fundamental ways that Bitcoin accrues value? This conversation is really weird. It's like someone who doesn't know crypto. It's really weird.
But also you're saying that you're comparing. First off, I'm sorry. It was so absurd. I'm still processing it. The dollar is not a speculative asset. Yes, you can trade on the DXY. Right. But yes, you can trade on the DXY, but it's not people aren't I think the dollar is going to go up to $2 tomorrow. I'm speculating. I don't think the dollar is going to be worth $1.01. No, that shit's going between 96 cents and $1 on the DXY.
But in reality, the price is fixed, so it's not a speculative asset.
Right.
Things will be worse.
And then the same thing with gold. Like, okay, we can speculate on the price of gold, but also like gold is kind of fixed. Like, yes, it does have its really fat jumps and its really big moves. Cool, but it's like
it's a rare
to just compare like the movement, the mechanisms, just the level of speculation on Bitcoin versus gold that has been like the last asset to be created in like ever has been gold up until Bitcoin. I just don't get how they're comparable. Like, people aren't speculating on gold the way they're speculating on Bitcoin. The last 12 years of Bitcoin have been pure speculation.
I wonder if someone prepped him. Like, does he have a PR agent? Like, do they have a team? Is it just him? We have to review the Celsius team.
Yeah.
So
you are missing the fundamental difference here. I mean, when people demand dollars, it's because they need them to settle transactions. People are still using the dollar as a medium of exchange. First of all Americans need dollars to pay taxes. I mean, because taxes are required to be paid in dollars. So there's always going to be demand. But people are buying oil, OPEC prices oil in dollars. There are all sorts of global trades that are settled in dollars. There's an entire bond market, that is in dollars. So the world is using dollars. Now, I agree, eventually they'll stop because they shouldn't be using dollars, but they are. So there's demand. There is demand for gold. I mean, only about 2 trillion of gold's, 13 trillion market cap is investors holding gold. The rest of it is used in industry, or central banks hold it as their main reserve other than fiat. But most of it is used. I mean, it's used in jewelry. It's used in electronics. There are people who need gold, and they buy gold every day because they need it. Nobody needs Bitcoin for anything.
Yes, they do.
Only people, let me finish. The only people buying Bitcoin are people who think the price is going to go up. Earlier you said the institutions buying Bitcoin prove that it's the new store value. The only thing Bitcoin proves is that P.T. Barnum was right. There's a sucker born every minute, and those suckers are buying Bitcoin. This is without a doubt the biggest scam I've seen in my entire investment career. Of all the bubbles that I've witnessed, from the .com to housing.
I understand what he's saying in conversation and comparison, because if you think
June
about
of last year to this year, so
talk, like, you'd be like, all right, but like, what are your plans? Bitcoin is great, and like, what, and it's like, I feel that because like Jack Dorsey, like, they don't describe it from like a growth perspective. It's just like, this is what it is. We love it.
Well, Bitcoin is primarily a marketing campaign, and he made that point earlier.
That is true. I mean, like, I think it's like, if you had what I think I've said previously, it's like, if you got Bitcoin before, when it was like at a few $100s, you won. Like, that was it. You won. That's it. Like,
right. But
playing the Bitcoin
I would
game
even
now
go
is
so
different.
far as to say that. But I would also go so far as to say that my feelings on Ethereum, but I would go so far as to say that I think that Ethereum has a lot more value and use case than Bitcoin does.
So I'm gonna cut this
problems.
out. No, Ethereum is the problem. It is the root to all evil. Now
Ethereum is a humongous problem, but at a minimum, my thing always goes back to nobody even knows who created Bitcoin.
But aside, like, I think that's because in theory, I think if it's like saying I'm an artist, it's like, what is that artist? Banksy. Like, Banksy, you know what I mean? But if we knew Banksy's identity, the mystery would be revealed, because it's about the work. It's not about the founder's identity. I think we're so caught up in like, who's the founder, and like, shit's annoying. And in reality, it's like, yes, for sketchy projects, yes, I would like to know the founder, right? But if it's like based on the tech, I don't think that really matters. I think like we're just learning about the tech, and like, I like the fact that I don't know who Satoshi is, because I think if I knew who Satoshi is, it would just bring up so many questions, and they would actually probably have to like lock him in a room and be like, why the fuck did you do this? So,
well, that is thinking that Satoshi is an individual and not a government. I have so many questions because I don't know who it is.
I can mentally understand, like, even let's say like we make a product, right? Now we have to remember, if we were to publish a cryptocurrency blockchain or a dApp or project, whenever someone thinks of that project, they would refer to us. Our whole identity, lifestyle, image is now attached to a project. And then let's say in the case of Ethereum, where you have shady co-founders that ruin your life, like whatever they do is reflected on the entire project, even though people understand that a decentralized project has so many aspects that goes into it. Now, like your whole identity is tied to something. Wouldn't you rather work freely from that and just work and create a medium and like just keep developing and like be loosely attached to it? But I don't think I would ever want to be the full founder of a cryptocurrency project knowing everything that's happening in this space. And I actually respect like the anonymous aspect of it in certain cases based on the tech. In certain cases,
I get that.
Also with like regulations, like half the companies that were like formed in the US are like being sued. So like it's, you know,
you can't sue someone that's anonymous.
Also that it's pretty hard to bring them in court.
I get that.
Like, so again, but think about it. A decentralized organization is supposed to be decentralized. It's not supposed to have a founder. It's not supposed to have a leader. It's supposed to be a group of developers working together to develop shit. This whole like, it's like they're turning it into like CEO like organizations, and I'm like, well, again, we keep forgetting like we're doing the same thing in a different context, but like we have to remember
the whole point is to not even do it at all.
Exactly. So
taking $60,000 to buy one instead of $6,000 to buy one. So most of my customers, right? Most of my customers are trying to detach themselves from the dollar fiat system. And this is what we started the conversation.
Yes, and they think they're going to get, and they think they're going to get rich in Bitcoin. If they thought Bitcoin had, if they think Bitcoin has stopped going up, they're going to want to sell their Bitcoin and buy stuff.
Alex, we're going to shift topics now. How are you going to use Bitcoin in 10 to 15 years? Best case scenario, and what does that mean with regards to transaction costs?
So what a person wants to do is hodl or save as many Bitcoins as they can. You should not be using your Bitcoins. You should be borrowing fiat or dollars against your Bitcoin and spending those dollars. That's what the rich people do. They borrow against their real estate. They borrow against their stocks and bonds, and they allow them to continue to appreciate. And in turn, basically, they defer their taxes on all their capital gains. So you can do that even with $100, right? You can basically join the club of how the rich people make and save and store their value, but you should use digital assets instead of stocks or bonds because those are already trading at all-time highs, and you don't want to buy these things at their highs.
All right, another question.
That is the worst financial advice you could give. You're telling people to take
He literally wants to assault him. They're not even in the same space, but he literally wants to go out of his screen and beat the shit out of him. I can see it in his eyes.
But this man was literally just plugging like his own platform, right? He was just plugging his own platform and not even like coming out and saying that he's plugging his own platform. He was just, kind of like sneaking that in there.
Shameless. Like, oh, let us hold your assets. But then
he said, be part of the club. Like, these are tactics that these people use, right? To try to entice you and to try to like make you want to like buy into it because it does give you like a feeling of exclusivity. And that's just tribalism in the crypto community, period. Yeah. But stuff like that was so dishonest. And then what else did he say? To just let it, continue appreciating in value while you borrow against it. Okay, yes, that is true. Rich people do that all the time with stocks.
But then you say
it's that, but then you say that it's better to do it with crypto than it is to do it with stocks or bonds, because stocks and bonds are at an all-time high, and it's like, where do you think crypto is?
Yeah,
they're pretty high prices. Yes, all-time high was around this time last year, but this is beginning in January. Bitcoin was at least $40,000, $50,000 in January of 2022.
Yeah, he's tripping.
That's a pretty high. That's not that far off from its all-time high. What are you saying?
Yeah, I feel like that's very scammy too, because you're saying, oh, well, don't spend it, keep it, put it on our platform. And it's like, yeah, we'll see people do that, but with, a few $100,000 worth of something, or like, when their company gives them like a stock option offering apart as for being a CEO, like that's different. You can't tell the average everyday person to do that like as a form of income, because most likely what you're encouraging them to do is to like pull out equity from their house, buy Bitcoin, dump it on your platform, and use that interest, which is not safe to tell people to do, like that's just not a logical response. I would feel very uncomfortable. Like if I worked for his company and I was doing PR or HR or like whatever, I would just be like, oh, okay, well, can't work here anymore because we're gonna go to jail. Yeah, no.
That's
you
what
just
I
gave
do.
it. You told people to borrow money against their Bitcoin. You told them to go on leverage and take out loans and borrow money. I mean, you know who's going to lose even more money though? The lenders. Anyone dumb enough to lend on Bitcoin, because once Bitcoin implodes, the lenders are going to take a huge hit. That's what happened in the mortgage market, with the subprime market. And I always said this when I was warning about it and encouraging people to short the subprime market. I knew that the lenders were going to be left holding the bag when the people who borrowed money to buy houses couldn't repay their loans. Well, the people who borrow money against their Bitcoin, ultimately, they're not going to have the money back, because I think Bitcoin is going to collapse so fast that the lenders are not going to be able to liquidate the Bitcoin fast enough to recover the loans. And so there's going to be a huge loss among the lending communities because they loaned against a phony asset.
There was just an article in Forbes that listed the 10 richest people in the world and how none of them paid any taxes. And when they dug through their taxes, they realized all of them borrowed against their stock. All of them. Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett and Steve Jobs.
What's your point? But at least stocks are real assets. Many of them pay dividends that you can use to make your margin payment.
Bitcoin pays dividends, Peter. No. Bitcoin pays dividends. Price Celsius.
How does Bitcoin pay a dividend?
6.2% dividend. Because we earn yield.
How do you earn yield on Bitcoin? What do you do to generate income on that Bitcoin?
I'm happy to spend an hour with you.
Yeah, you're trading it. You've got to be taking tremendous amount of risk. The Bitcoin itself doesn't generate any yield.
It does. Just like any other asset can generate yield. Gold.
No, but what earnings does the Bitcoin generate?
Gold generates 5.5% at Celsius yield.
No,
tokenized
what
gold
are you doing to generate that? You must be taking tremendous risk to generate those returns. Of course you are.
Okay.
You're not. Of course you must be.
Look, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just explaining that this is
interest rates are practically zero. How can you get 5% interest on gold?
It's an amazing opportunity for people to unbank themselves, right? Take advantage of this market.
You know who also had an amazing opportunity? Bernie Madoff had an amazing opportunity too. Yeah.
I am placing a bet that Bitcoin will be above 150,000 by tax day, by April 15th. We will see Bitcoin going at or above 150,000. It will take a correction after that. I said that several times. It will go back below 100,000. But we have not seen the blow off top yet for Bitcoin.
This man is nuts.
So today at the time, the date of this recording is June 28th of 2022. Tax day has passed and Bitcoin has not reached $70,000. So
yeah, that was insane.
That was a bad prediction. But at the end part, I mean, I love Peter Schiff's spiciness throughout the whole interview. But the end part when he said, no, you're trading it, you're taking risk on other people's assets. And you can only do that for so long and be successful.
And you said you're over leveraging.
You're gonna have bad days. You're over leveraging because he was probably using everyone's assets, all of their assets, and leveraging all of it.
Because he's not bright.
No.
I just have one more interview with him, and I'm done.
That's like risking your whole account.
He's insane. Hold on. Okay. I'm gonna edit this video so much. La la la. Okay, so apparently they doxed his address. That's why he was leaving the country.
I saw that. I did see that they doxed his address.
Well, that's what happened. See, okay, let me just stop the video. So I don't think people grasp this concept. In crypto, it's a little different. You have people who like don't leave their house and like do research and like track wallets. Like it's not like regular finance. Like these things are on the blockchain. It's public knowledge. Like they will find you. So like I think the traditional finessers were used to like the barriers in traditional finance. Like like there were limitations, right? Everything's on the internet, and you have very intelligent people. If you do something with someone else's money, they're gonna want it back. Like that guy that found Do Kwon's house and like went up to his house and knocked on his door. And then you also have institutions that want their money. You have very rich people that want their money, that know people. Like I don't think like running games in cryptocurrency is what it used to be. So I think people.
No, this is not 2017.
It's not.
This is not 2017.
So I know there's a lot of people that think that they can pull a scam or they probably can walk away with $1 billion. You can, but you also may not be walking for very long. That's just all I'm saying. It's just it might.
Well, and before we go on to this, like he's been doxxed. I mean, I kind of low-key understand why he allegedly tried to flee the country yesterday, 6/27/2022.
All you have
allegedly.
So the issue with it is that all you had to do was be 100. You let them publish story after story. Oh, we're hiring a bankruptcy lawyer. Oh, we're hiring a liquidation lawyer. Oh, Goldman Sachs is about to buy our assets. Personally, if someone owed me money and I keep hearing that everyone is working with this person and like giving them liquidity, we have to fight, because it's just like I've been asking clear questions and it just seems like people are publishing articles with documents that you filed, but you can't even make a simple communicative statement as to the status of my money. Because it would have been like, oh, all withdrawals are locked, but this is the day when we're going to start moving forward. You have to give people a time frame. You can't just be like,
at least locked. It's been locked for 13 days now, 14 days now,
going on 13 days now.
Yeah.
And on top of that, when people's loans get liquidated, they literally have to call to add more money into the loan so it won't get liquidated, because it's like either you can keep the other crypto that was received or you can lose your asset. But like, remember, over collateralized loans, you want to keep the asset. Like, this is not ideal. So they basically have to call and add more money. So it's like messy. It's a messy situation. And for someone who is always running their big mouth and talking, why are you so quiet right now?
But also, why would you even bother adding your own money if you still don't even know when or if you will ever be able to withdraw anything that's on there? So for me, I would just take the L, keep whatever I borrowed for them and get liquidated. And I'm just not going to pay back what I borrowed from you.
Well, the thing about that is if you get liquidated, that I get what you're saying. But if you get liquidated, you would just... but anyway, it doesn't matter what you do at that point, because it's still going to be on the wallet. You can't liquidate it. I see what you're saying, but I understand why people. You can't you can't do this. Like, it's not okay. Just because the SEC hasn't labeled it as being a crime, it's still a crime. It's a crime.
Right. I don't feel bad that this man got doxxed. I will say that he already has some, aside from being an Israeli national, he also has some alleged very interesting connections to some criminal organizations in Israel. Also, yesterday on the 27th of June, he allegedly was trying to flee the United States from an airport in New Jersey on a flight to Israel. It is a fact that while Israel does have an extradition agreement with the United States, they will not extradite Israeli nationals that have like committed a crime while being an Israeli national. So for example, if he committed a crime prior to becoming an Israeli national and then he fled to Israel to try to avoid like any criminal penalties, then Israel would extradite him to the United States. But he grew up there. He served in the military there. Like, he has been an Israeli national. He is currently an Israeli national. So we can say, and Celsius did come out and make a statement that that he was not trying to flee the country. But it would just, make sense if I were him and I knew that I had somewhere that I could go that was beyond extradition to the United States, I would try to go there. That's all I'm saying.
But the issue is, and again, to touch, that's why I don't really want people to participate in this coin pump for them, because, he has a lot of the Celsius tokens in his personal wallet. So like whatever.
He's the primary holder.
Yeah, so like everyone's like, oh, fight the battle. I'm like, okay, well, FTX probably paced the short because they know he's a piece of shit. And not to be rude, but they're like, they wanted to like out him, like, okay, FTX is doing a lot, but like, maybe they know something we know. They do know something we know because they're the ones that are going around to each of these companies and offering them loans to like.
Well, same thing with Binance, because Binance had come out and made a statement that they were looking to acquire about 100 crypto companies like across the world, and then like CZ threw some shade that like was kind of in reference towards Celsius and Alex.
Dude, like,
yep.
But that's the thing. It's just like he could have published a statement, because that's the thing. It's like I am finding because I'm in like other groups too, and I was like bringing up all this evidence and data, and he has gotten his like community so mind warped that even when you bring up this evidence, like, no, that's just FUD, and I'm like, yo, like, you can see the wallet addresses of the sent ETH, so the Celsius wallet released ETH to this address that's linked to this holding that lost the ETH forever. And those things were never formally stated. I think in the situation, like what's happening now, but if you like they lost ETH twice. So the Badger DAO was hacked. They lost like an additional like 75 million. So it's like about 200 of ETH. That was 200 million ETH that was lost outside of all of the liquidations, the loan, the collateral, and everything else we don't know. So it's just like when those things happen, it's your liability. If you were a bank, you would have to come forward. Like they would have to go to a hearing. They would have to admit it, and they would, and they have to replace the money, correct? But because they are not an FDIC insured institution, there's no legal reminder where they are forced to do that. It would just be in their best interest to state what happened so people can continue using their platform.
Right. But I feel like if you have like an exit plan and like this guy allegedly tried to go through with his exit plan, I mean,
I don't think he had an exit plan. I think they've just been talking to so many bankruptcy lawyers and they know they're fucked. I literally think that's what it is. And they're like, there is no solution. Because there isn't an immediate solution. They literally need to get bought out by a company. Because the ETH still exists, it's still tied, that's still valuable. So they can't even like go bankrupt in reality. They can't just bankrupt it and wash it. That's another problem. Like if the ETH wasn't staked, if the ETH was unlocked, they could probably finesse their way out of it, but because the ETH is locked until post-merge, they're basically like in, what is that place before hell? Purgatory. Crypto purgatory, essentially. Yeah. So I want to find this last video. Okay, so Alex Mashinsky was asked about one of his CFOs, and he denied knowing that they exist. He just lied, and it was really weird, and then he was removed. I think you just said it to Moshe Hoged. Okay. So this is them admitting that one of the former CFO, Moshe, he was committing some type of fraud in Israel as well. But when Alex was asked about it, he just denied the person existed. He was just like, I don't know anything about it. And I was like, that's
yeah,
really weird.
That's what I mentioned earlier, that he allegedly has some ties to an Israeli criminal organization. But now that you read it, the tie is his former CFO.
But it was 2 of them though, so I'm trying to. But he literally, it was multiple people. So it's actually 3. So 3 of his previous, and one was like the chief financial officer, one was the co-founder. And then I'm like, well, that looks really bad if you think about it.
And then, no, it looks super bad to top it off. And then you have to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, he wasn't actually trying to escape to Israel where he's beyond extradition.
Yeah.
I just,
Why did I receive Matic? My Coinbase wallet is having like random, I'm receiving crypto from like a year ago.
That's weird.
Well, they didn't have a Polygon bridge, so I couldn't receive it. Okay, I can't find the interview. It's fine. So yeah, as a culminate, like just to talk about everything, I don't feel like he is the best person to lead this company. I don't think this company should exist. I think we should all like get rid of TradeFi. It's not safe. It's not safer than you holding your own assets. These companies don't care. They have been using users as liquidity pools themselves. They're taking out loans that are larger than the size of their company. And it's like, you notice that they didn't do any of this with VC funding. Because to me, if you got VC funding, wouldn't you be doing all this with that? No, because you probably know you're not legally allowed to. So
well, also their heads are probably going to get snatched.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is if you don't know how to stake something on your own, or if you're not able or willing to figure it out, then just don't do it.
Because at that point, they would have been better off running their own validators. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you have to just not know. You just have to not know, and you're just very ignorant and you don't care.
Yeah. Also, it's a lesson that we learned with Luna. Now we're learning with Celsius. Like, don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. And if you do want to be a little bit greedy, don't be greedy with all of your assets. That it just doesn't. It's not a smart thing to do. It's not a smart thing to do. If all you have is a car, don't put your car up. Like, because then you can lose your car and then you don't have a way to get to work.
But on top of that too, it's just like, honestly, if you want to stake crypto, they allow you to run validators on most of the platforms. You just have to like literally set it up. And there, there are ways for you to do it where it's not such a mess. Like, this isn't normal. And I've never had a situation where I've staked within my Exodus and then someone has been like, oh, wait, like this has never happened. I would,
but this,
like, it's not.
This isn't technically staking. This is you're handing over custody of your assets to someone else for them to do it for you, and it's like, why?
Yeah, I'm just trying to compare it to the 2 situations. Like, I've never gone through this with my journey because I've also never let my assets go into someone else's hands and expected them to manage it.
Yeah, that was the first commandment that I was taught of crypto, was like, not your keys, not your crypto. Like, don't send it to, if someone's telling you, if you send me this, I'm gonna send you back more, it's a scam. So why, when a company does it, it's not a scam? It stops being a scam. Nah, dog, it's still a scam. That it doesn't sound right. If you wouldn't trust a stranger on Twitter to be like, oh, send me, 100 ETH and I'll send you back your initial 100 ETH plus 150 on top, you wouldn't trust them. Like, if you do, you're an idiot. But like, you shouldn't trust that person. So what? Because it's a company, it makes it different. Like, I guess there is a legitimacy attached to it, and it does make you feel a little bit better. But it's the exact same concept.
No,
they're holding it for you. They're like, hey, yo, let me hold on. Let me hold on to that for you right quick, and I'm gonna go flip it for you. No, I can flip it myself.
And this is important too, because I just want to talk about when the banks get involved with crypto, and they're going to start doing the same stuff. They're like, let us hold it for custody. Like, just be aware you don't need for them to hold it for custody. That isn't necessary for you to have it. Even if it were to be banned, It's like they don't have to hold things for you, you know? Like,
no, you guys can actually custody your own crypto if you have not learned that by now. And there is going to be a link down in the description for you to purchase your own ledger. So that is an affiliate link that we are going to go ahead and leave in the description of the video and in the description of the podcast, so that you guys can go and like purchase a ledger, a cold storage wallet, so that you can custody your own crypto, so that you don't have to rely on a corporation to do it for you.
Yeah, because
that may or may not be shady.
Happen. And this is honestly probably happening just so corporations can buy everything on discount. They're liquidating everyone. I think so. That's what I'm seeing.
So, and what I wanted to say, just to bounce off of your last point, that it's possibly and probably corporations that are trying to do this, trying to cause a crash so that they can like buy in on a fat dip. To piggyback off of that, sometimes bad things happen for good reasons. And what I mean by that is, yes, a lot of people are like seeing my portfolio does not look as good as it did at this time last year, right? Am I still like in profits in a good portion of my portfolio? Yes, because I did get in at fairly low prices in the assets that I am invested in. But if the market's crashing because Ponzi schemes and scams are being exposed, then that's a good thing. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you if you should continue to hold or not, but I am confident enough to say that if the market is crashing because bad things are being exposed, then that's really, really good for all of the projects that are not doing bad things.
Yeah, I think TradeFi needs to be washed out. I don't think that they need to be regulated highly. They lend money out to each other. We don't know how much. We can only see by looking at their balance sheet, which they have to provide to us. It's not crypto.
Yeah, it's not public.
Unless they can put
that's
it on
opposite
chain.
Of blockchain.
Yeah, unless they can put it on chain, they should. No, absolutely not. But again, I blame the SEC, because if they would have done, I don't know what regulation they told corporations they had to have when owning crypto on their balance sheet, but it should have been, it has to be a transparent ownership, and you cannot use customer assets to reinvest. That cannot be your whole that can't be your whole profit scheme. If all your profit is derived from other people's holdings, that is not a profit, that's a Ponzi. It's literally a large operating, fully funded Ponzi with VC backing. And for you to think that that's okay is not. And then to lie about your risk management procedures and say that you monitor your cryptos 24 hours. Well, how did this happen if you do such things? That's a lie. So like, you're lying on camera, which will all be used against you in like a court case. But that's neither here nor there. But just learn from the situation. And TradeFi is not safer. It's actually much worse, because they have no legal no legal morality about robbing you. They literally made
or no legal like framework or repercussions. I mean, sure, yes, there are like basic existing laws, like Ponzi schemes are already against the law. Like a Ponzi scheme in crypto doesn't make it like not against the law, because there's not regulations in crypto yet. But the rules of the road have not been planned out yet, and the U.S. specifically has lacked and is very far behind on it. And now is when they're beginning to create frameworks and stuff. It's a little too late.
But yeah, so the issue is essentially, by the time they discovered that this happened, the money's gone. Your money's gone. Like, by the time the SEC decides to wake up, the money's gone, because they're too busy like suing the wrong people. The money's gone. The money's been moved. The person is in Israel, and you're so separate from your money that now you have to wait for the legal system to realize that you're robbed for you to have any connection with your finances. So to avoid that type of reaction, don't touch it. Don't go near it.
Yeah.
Not your keys, not your crypto. Not something you should be investing with or touching. Don't take out money to go get more to lend. Stop. Like, just.
And also, like, I know none of us read the terms and conditions, but oh my goodness, please read the terms and conditions, because if a platform says that if they mess up, they get to keep all of your shit that you have on there, don't leave your money on there. Just don't do it.
Yeah, Coinbase too. Coinbase, so this is just a little bit, but Coinbase basically, I think it was somewhere in Switzerland or Amsterdam. I could be wrong, but somewhere in Europe. So basically, the customers would have to dox themselves and the person they're sending their crypto to before they could receive it. If not, their assets are kind of like locked. Yeah, I can show you. I'll put up the picture in the thing, but yeah. And I'm like, why would I want to do that? Because if I wanted to have, and you have to put their home address, their first and last name as well in their wallet. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I just put in a Zelly from my bank? Like that doesn't make any sense. And and they said it was based upon, no, I think it's somewhere Dutch, like Holland or something like that. I guess it was like a previous law, but I'm like, whatever, like law for finance doesn't directly. It was like they said it was a law based in 1972, and I'm like, that's dumb, because that's not a regulatory law that was recently made for crypto. So then now they're like making all these like weird claims. I don't trust Coinbase anymore. Coinbase, that's not okay. Because I don't even think, like, how does that make sense in crypto for me to write your address when I'm sending it to you? That would literally just to be to dox all wallets, correct?
Yeah, no, literally. Like I understand having the point of KYC for on and off ramps, but if I'm just sending it to you, like it's nobody's business who I received it from. Like, yes, the wallet address, sure, but like I shouldn't have to provide that information in order to make a transaction.
Oh yeah,
If they're already KYC'd on, if I already KYC'd, and whether or not they're KYC'd on their end, that's none of my business. I'm just sending you the money. How they're able to do whatever they do with it is their business. But yeah, if you already KYC me, why you gotta make me KYC with them?
And it's also annoying because if you do DeFi stuff, sometimes you have to move it and send it to yourself. Like, do whatever. Like, what if I had to KYC myself? It's just too much. It's just like, this is weird. Like, why do you need to know? Also, the reason why I have a problem with that is because what I learned last week with the whole USDC, being able to blacklist wallets and keeping a list of wallets that they actively know are blacklisted or are going to blacklist. So, and knowing that Circle and Coinbase are the same company, because Coinbase produced Circle, I'm uncomfortable with their need to know certain things. Just very uncomfortable with that. So
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, so when I was freaking out last week, that's what I was saying. So Coinbase made Circle, and then Circle in the smart contract that USDC comes from, on like the top third line, it says there's address to blacklist pin funds in the smart contract. And
yeah, I remember you showed me that.
Then I Googled, we Googled, we were just like, well, how do they know? And then it says that they actively receive the blacklist, like the list of blacklist wallets from the police. But I'm like, well, how will the police know who you are and what wallet? And this KYC procedure to me would make sense, because now they have your name, your address, and it's on Coinbase. And then they can then keep a log of it and then look at transactions, or the police can, and then start matching them. So I'm not being paranoid. I just feel like that's the direction they want to go, and that's fine. No one's going to use your platform ever again.
Yeah, I know. Or at a minimum, you take it and you send it to like a burner wallet, and then from the burner wallet you send. But even still, that'll leave like a bit of a trace.
I think they're locking people out of their accounts if they don't provide KYC.
I thought you had to provide KYC in order to create an account.
Well, yeah, your account, but if the second account doesn't, you just can't send it at all. So the account B has to have all the provided information before you can remove it, or else you have to create a secondary Coinbase wallet and then send it to yourself. Then I'm like, well, then it's just on a different Coinbase wallet. Yeah, exactly. And it's happening June 27th. Is that today?
Yesterday, technically. Yes. Holy cow.
So, yeah, just be careful.
Yeah, moral of the story, don't let people or companies or corporations or like rich guys that sound very nice in interviews, even though this guy didn't really sound that good. Don't let them hold on to your assets and tell you that they're gonna make money on your assets for you. Just no. That doesn't like just no. Don't do it.
And I would wait to do any DeFi protocol with lending until after this passes because we don't know who's lent out money to who. Because also we realize these institutions are kind of stupid. So Voyager has lent out money to one, and then so it's like Peely, I give you $100 million, right? Right? I'm loaning you $100 million, but then you lose all your money, and then you can't pay me back. So then I can't pay anyone back. So we're both broke. So what happens to that money? How do I give the money back? I can't, right? So then I have to file my bankruptcy from whoever's other money I have, and then we're all broke. Mm-hmm. So it's like the circle of like loss. Everyone's gonna be broke. We just don't know who's gonna go.
Right. I would add a caveat onto that. Flare Networks, not Flare Finance, Flare Networks launches where it's supposed to launch on July 4th.
And that's so because Coinbase is going to screw everyone over. Celsius is going to, because I guess people had XRP on Celsius.
Well, so I don't know if Celsius participated in the snapshot. I have no idea. I know that Coinbase did, but Coinbase didn't release anybody's Songbird tokens to them because my dad and my stepmom, I left their stuff on Coinbase just because it was easier at the time. I should be getting my my Flare through Exodus because I was able to get my Songbird through Exodus.
Celsius did support the Spark token airdrop for XRP holders.
Ooh.
That sucks.
So dude. That's I know Hugo said that they were like in conversations with all of the exchanges to ensure that people were going to get their Flare and that they want to make sure that like at least 85% of the exchanges like are on board with like releasing people their Flare because they don't want to like is that he doesn't want to have a governance vote until at least 85% of people have received their Flare tokens that participated in the snapshot, which I respect. That's fine, especially if you know that exchanges are doing shady shit. Like you probably shouldn't. It's not fair to hold a governance vote on an initial airdrop when you know that exchanges are like withholding it from people. Celsius is kind of funny because like what happens, I don't think Flare is going to be at a very high value when it drops, but how much worth of it is going to end up on the exchange? Is it still going to be frozen on July 4th or whenever they do like release it? I don't know what's going to happen with that.
I just feel like they, you couldn't fulfill the job. You guys couldn't do it. You guys are not prepared for this type of work. You shouldn't have taken on the responsibility of holding millions of dollars of assets. And if I had any money on Celsius, I would be calling every day crying because like that's crazy. I don't think people know how bad it is because they've been really good about like trying to like gaslight everyone into thinking it's okay. But it's a really bad situation, and I'm not saying this. Obviously, I would want everything I'm saying to not be true, right? Like, I don't want people to lose their money. I don't want these things to happen. But when people go out of their way to lie and just lie about things, that's the problem.
And lie badly.
Yeah, and then he's saying, "Oh, everything's fine." Meanwhile, you're reaching out to bankruptcy lawyers. You're making all these plans without consulting anyone. If it was a governance DApp, they would have voted. You would have had communication because you can't do that. Essentially in a decentralized application, you're supposed to be using governance tokens to vote and discuss things how the platform operates. In these types of situations, you have no rights. Literally no rights. They can do whatever they want. They can bankrupt the company. Your assets will go with it.
Right. So keep your assets in cold storage, again, on a ledger that you buy using, hopefully, the link below. Like, you don't have to, but I would really like if you guys did that. I'd be very appreciative.
Okay, well, I think we have covered the subject enough, and in our next few videos, we're going to go into the other platforms that are also TradeFi. It'll be a little bit more brief because there's like 5 of them, and discuss how they also ruin their platform by over leveraging and taking out too many loans with also failing trade like funds. So literally, they're a correlation to the collapse that we're experiencing now.
Well, the further collapse, like the second collapse.
Are we in the second? I feel like we're in collapse 7, but yes.
Yeah, I would since Terra, like Terra was 1, I think we're in 2 right now. 3 is probably going to be Tether. Maybe Tether. We'll see.
So basically, Terra is the domino that pushed the picture, essentially.
Yeah.
Because it basically revealed like how these protocols are creating inflationary yield to hold assets. They're hoarding money so they can do X, Y, and Z and get loans. So.
Right, just like in capitalism, it's the same thing, except for that is a little bit more regulated than what we're experiencing now.
And that's what we're trying to say. This is scary because this is unregulated. This is millions and billions. Like for Do Kwon to have lost 40 billion, that's crazy. Like
for Anonymous to come after you, like that says something. Because Anonymous is probably the CIA. So like for Anonymous / the CIA to come after you, like Doug, you know you fucked up.
Like retired CIA.
Probably, but either way, you know you fucked up. You know you fucked up when Anonymous is coming after you.
Honey, they're gonna DDoS attack your whole mainframe and burn your computers down. Like they don't play. I'm so scared.
And then send more people to your apartment.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Well, just quickly to touch, Do Kwon was sending crypto. So Do Kwon's a sneaky little thing because he was basically like, oh, here's like $10 million worth of Luna. Give me your crypto. That's what he was doing to blockchains. Yeah, so that's what someone from AVAX was saying. They're like, the Luna Foundation has our crypto and we don't know when they're going to sell it, so we're scared. And he's done that. I don't know how many he's done that with, but that's what he was doing too. So he was like, here, just take it, right? Just take it. Like, take 10 million. It's like fair. And then give me yours. Let's just exchange it. And he did this with like so many of them. So that's why
all of those exchanges that participated and that exchanged with him, like that's just incompetence. That's
how that rumor got started about the original collapse of Luna. They were like, he did it off chain, and we're like, that's weird. Why are they all saying that, right? Because that's what Do Kwon was doing. He was like talking to the head of the foundations and like, let's just swap between our wallets, not like on an exchange or like I send it to your formal exchange wallet or whatever.
Right.
That was a common practice for him. So the Luna Foundation has like all this random crypto on top of whatever they did. So,
but also like I 1000% fault whoever made those executive decisions at all of the other exchanges, because why would you do that? That's so sketchy. Like, why wouldn't you do it through the official channels? Like, that's so sketch.
Because everyone was so magnetized by Luna's price increase that they were just like, oh, there's money in that. Like, Do Kwon mystified everyone with the growth of his project and the stable yield. When you pay a stable yield, people think that your protocol's perfect. You can consistently pay people, you have millions of users, you're damn near close to adoption. When people say it, I think it's never made me feel comfortable, but I think for the novice people, it's like, oh, that's safe, without really thinking, well, like, how does it work? How does he do that? Wait, how much does it cost? Like, so, and I think that led people to take the money, and he probably gave them more than they were giving him. So, yeah.
He probably did that. I wonder when he did that, because obviously he had a kill switch. So
he probably collected.
I wonder.
And then took out what he could and then depegged. But I think he also did it with exchanges, with like informal actual loans too. That's why these exchanges are collapsing, because Voyager took out a loan Voyager loaned money to 3AC, so they're all just loaning money out to people like
to each other, and it's just
these are literally human beings. These are not decentralized organizations. Like, why are you lending out millions of dollars to people? My grandmother has better risk management.
no, literally.
She doesn't, but still, like, you know. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, well, like, follow, subscribe, stay away from DeFi for a bit, you know, hold your coins, don't lend anything out. Aave is still cool, though. We love Aave because they're logical. But yeah, just stay safe out here, okay?
Bye.